Well, greetings and salutations, my excellent friends. I hope you're having a fantastic day. It is a lovely day here, which means it is coffee time. That beautiful, beautiful nectar of the gods. Oh, coffee. I love it. Well, anyway, as I always say, if you have any questions, feel free to send them to me. And Jake did that. And this is what Jake asked me. He says, I have about 2.5 years before I can get my bachelor's degree in computer information systems. And I was wondering, how do you feel about the availability for teaching jobs and how they will look at that time? I know this is kind of a tougher question, but I figure you probably have a better feel for it than I do living in the United States. I'm just looking for an opinion on it, and if you think it will get more competitive or stay the same, or perhaps get easier to get jobs there. And that is a really interesting question because a lot of things are happening right now in regards to English education in Korea. For the past 2 years or so, there has been a pretty significant cut in the number of public teaching jobs here in Gyeonggi-do and in Seoul. There are still jobs available, and of course if you go to some of the more rural areas and in other areas within Korea, there are still a lot of public school jobs. And I would say I really haven't seen any decrease in the number of private academy jobs in that time. But what is the future going to hold? And I think a lot of that has to deal with whether or not Park Geun-hye, the president of South Korea, is able to push through her educational agenda with regards to English education. You see, right now, English education is still looked on as something as a must-have. In fact, a lot of companies in South Korea require a certain level, a certain number score on the TOEIC test, I almost said TOEIC, the TOEIC test, the test of English proficiency used here in Korea, in order to get a job or to advance to certain levels. And I really fundamentally disagree with that because it sets some artificial need for an individual to learn English. It says, I need to learn English because I want this job, not because I find it useful or I have a desire to learn it. Because the truth of the matter is, here in South Korea, English education has failed. There's just really no specific need for the majority of people to become fluent in English. So forcing a lot of people to learn English and study it and become fluent in it is really a waste of time. There needs to be a real benefit to learn it. And that's one of the things that Park Geun-hye has identified, is that the way that English education has been taught in Korea up until now is always towards this test and to get some kind of fluency level, when in fact that just, for a lot of people, it just doesn't seem necessary. So what she has proposed, and it really hasn't been accepted or implemented, is to change English education in Korea to have a certain bare minimum. Because a lot of people, and myself included, really feel that to get ahead, to really take Korea's proper place on the world stage, there is a certain level of English that needs to be had in terms of being able to effectively communicate with partners and with international entities. But high-level comprehension, high-level fluency isn't for everybody. So rather than making that the focus of classes, have that be separated so that on tests and graduation requirements have a base level of necessary English. And then if someone chooses to go above and beyond that, have private academies or have advanced level English classes available at high school, middle school, whatever the appropriate level is. So it's unclear whether or not how successful that will be put into the system. On the next Sunung, the college entrance exam, one of the changes that are supposed to be implemented is that only school curriculum materials can be tested on the test. So that will be interesting to see how that is addressed in terms of the English material. So that's a change. So what does that mean for teaching jobs? Well, it means that the education ministry really needs to sit down and decide if that's the direction they're going to go. Do you really need native teachers in the classroom to teach? And since most native teachers don't have formal teaching education, my inclination would be to say no. If you can find someone who can actually teach the basics of English at whatever level is going to be, the bar is going to be set at, then do it. Do it with someone who is Korean, who is a Korean teacher who understands pedagogy. You know, just coming from one of the golden 7 countries because you speak English doesn't mean you're going to be a great teacher. And I see that. I see people who are in teaching positions and they aren't good teachers. They're just here because they speak English, and it shows in classroom management, it shows in the progress of their class, it shows in how their students really effectively learn and their attitudes towards English. So I think in certain respects, I think the public school jobs eventually are going to go away, or if you get a job at a public school, you're going to have a requirement of having at least a TEFL and some kind of teaching experience that you can actually hold a class by yourself. Private academies, I think that's going to continue to be a boom in terms of jobs available, but I personally would like to see more requirements in terms of people being able to have some kind of credentialed list of teaching experience and teaching qualifications before they're put into that role. I think that would do a lot to improve our position in Korea, because we aren't looked at as professionals, and that's because the majority of English teachers here really aren't professionals. They're fresh out of high school with a bachelor's degree in topic XYZ with no formal training, and that doesn't make you a teacher. So that's what that is. But who knows what's going to happen in the future. Right now, I don't see a change. I don't see any forecasted change either. So I think in 2.5 years, when you get your bachelor's, there will be jobs available. I think there will be a lot of jobs available. The actual requirements of those jobs may change based on the educational needs of the country at that time. So hope that answers your question. And as always, if you have a question for me, whether it be about travel or living in Korea or teaching in Korea, feel free to drop me a note. You can do so at questions@chiranger.com. And until tomorrow, thanks for watching. Stay true to yourself. And as always, be awesome.